All right, on my channel, we get straight to the content. I'm gonna get straight to the content because I haven't done a video in a while because I've been putting up videos on TikTok. My TikTok the same as my YouTube. Now listen, so recently I still been checking out the podcast, still checking out the people that cover the podcast. Shout outs to Danny from the Stop. You know what I'm saying? He do good. In past videos, I said Danny has actually been doing a better job covering the podcast than the podcast is on its own, right? So I see Mona does an interview on Danny from the Stop's content, like his page, right, on his platform. So I'm like, this is interesting, right? Now Imani did it on Danny from the Stop's platform too, but we all know Imani is a thirst bucket for attention. It is what it is. Shout out to Imani. He a thirsty bull for attention, right? So I'm looking at Mona and I'm like, well, why would Mona go on this platform? Now, if you're not familiar with Danny from the Stop is a person that's heavy influential in the Joe Buttons community. He's building his own community and he's a YouTuber that covers the content, right? He covers other content, but is mainly Joe Buttons, right? Danny has kicked everyone's back end on the cast for a very long time in multiple videos, right? The only person he never kicked their back end was Mark Lamont Hill, right? And like my conspiracy theory is that, like, respectfully, Danny's a dork, Mark Lamont Hill's a dork, so he don't really kick his back end. He like kind of roots for Mark Lamont Hill. I mean, he has been kind of critical. Like, if you're familiar with my other content, y'all know I can't stand Mark Lamont Hill. I think he a fraud. I think he's a fake black leader. Like, it's a lot of things. I'm not gonna go into that. But like, Danny kind of cheers him on. He'll have a little critiques with Mark Lamont Hill, but not kicking his back end like everybody else get their back kicked in, right? So since Mona has been on the show, Danny from the Stop has kicked her back in. It is what it is. A lot of the JPP community kicks Mona's back end and other people's back end, but a lot you see it with Mona. And Joe Buttons does have a toxic community. Now, it's not the most crazy toxic community, but it's toxic, right? So Danny from the Stop is like a leader in that community, in that space, right? And he kicks people back in. He's been kicking Mona's back in since she's been on the show. So Mona does an interview on his platform, but Danny doesn't do the interview. Some other guy does it. Shout out to the other guy that was doing it, because he actually did a good job. He reminded me of the guy from DJ Vlad's channel who interviews Nicholas Irving. Nicholas Irving is like a retired military person. He's on DJ Vlad, but some other guy interviews him, not Vlad, right? So the whole time, like, why would Mona do that? Danny from the Stop don't like her. Not only does he not like her, he really kicks her back in, right? So I'm like, the only way I could see Mona even open to the idea of doing an interview on Danny from the Stop's platform is if Ian Schwartzmen made a play. Now, a lot of these, listen, I'm the smallest content creator that covers the Joe Budden podcast, right? So I don't have to worry. A lot of these guys kind of kiss up to Ian Schwartzmen. And I'm not saying Ian Schwartzmen is a bad guy, but you can see his influence within the podcast. Even him and Mark Lamont Hill, they do like little short flicks on like YouTube, like short videos type stuff, right? Like little silly content. I don't watch it because I don't think Mark Lamont Hill is entertaining, and I don't think Ian Schwartzmen is entertaining, but they doing like sketch comedy type stuff. Shout out to them. It's weak. It don't get a lot of views, whatever, right? So one of the episodes had Danny from the Stop. So this was when my conspiracy theory started, right? So now I'm looking at Mona on the pod, on Danny's platform, getting an interview on a guy's platform that kicks her back in, and I have to blame that on Ian Schwartzmen. But this actually goes back to Joe Budden. Yo, Joe Budden, you are a bad leader, bro. You are an amazing content creator, an amazing podder. You was a dope rapper. You think outside the box, and it's wavy, and I get it. Your leadership skills are trash, bro. And see, a lot of times, like, as a black man in America, you don't need no celebrity to speak for you. But sometimes these guys are on the highest stage, and they can speak for the black community, whether you like it or don't, right? Especially for black men. So we already got Joe doing weak stuff like taking Ozempic. Like, that's just weak. I'm sorry. If you overweight, just grind. Because you worked hard to get fat, so work hard to lose it. Don't cheat your way out of it. But that's neither here nor there. So it's just like, I think Joe allows Ian Schwartzmen to be too influential when it comes to the podcast. Because we're not here for Ian Schwartzmen or his ideas. We're here for Joe Budden and his ideas. So when you got Mona, like, think about it. How much did Danny really pay Mona to be on there? I'm going to say Danny probably didn't pay her $1. I think Ian Schwartzmen did it. And Ian Schwartzmen and Danny are using his platform to be like the Twitter community pod, like the Twitter community pod. And I think Danny and Ian Schwartzmen have like a business deal worked out, because it really makes no sense. At one point, Queens Flip had a big problem with Danny, and rightfully so. And I don't even like Queens Flip like that. He's not even foundational Black American, always riding the culture when it's convenient for him. But anyway, and Ian Schwartzmen was really having conversations and really like pestering him about this situation with Danny when it came to Twitter Spaces. And it was just like, well, no, Danny was being extra with Queens Flip, and we all know Queens Flip is extra, so it just happened. I'm not going to get into the particulars of what happened, but it's just like, this is where hip-hop went wrong. And like I said, it's no shot at no community. Like, I'm not taking a shot at nobody's religious background. I'm not taking a shot at Ian Schwartzmen, because he is a cool guy. I had brief interactions with him on Twitter a long time ago. He's a cool guy. But this is one of the things where Black people always mess it up. We build our stuff on. We build our own stuff up. And then we let other people kind of say and do what they want in the culture. Like, I'm not going to say the religion that has a habit of doing this with the Black community, but you know what I mean. I don't think the last name Schwartzman is a Baptist last name. That's all I'm going to say. So it's just like, Joe, what are you doing? Danny from the stop don't even like people on the show. And now y'all funneling in people from the cast over to the show. Even though Danny didn't do it. Do y'all remember how bad Danny hated Ish? Ish wasn't even responding to Danny. Danny was taking it so petty spaghetti that he was like, yeah, I'm going to find out about his construction business, because I don't think that company is making money. Like, what? For a dude that wasn't even talking about him. He had real hatred towards Ish. And now you got to see Danny in sketch comedy skits with Mark Lamont Hill and Ian Schwartzmen. And the sketch comedy stuff is weak and don't do numbers. I think this is all Ian Schwartzman stuff, and Ian Schwartzman needs to stick to the lawyer and paperwork stuff. I hope that Joe sees it, because you remember, if you're familiar with our other videos, that little Mark Lamont Hill experience is kind of coming to an end. Yes, he's still on the show, but Mark was like on the pod, kind of like running stuff. Joe has shut that down. Shout out to Joe Budden for that, because we not here for Mark Lamont Hill. The people that's on Joe Budden's for Mark Lamont Hill, they can go to his channel. His channel don't do numbers, and Mark Lamont Hill is a celebrity. He be on CNN, MSNBC, all that stuff. So he got books, and his numbers don't pop. Danny from the Stop do better numbers than Mark Lamont Hill. But it's just like, Joe shut that down. I think it's in Joe's best interest, and for the pod, and for the actual people in the pod, Ish, Ice, and Mona. This little Danny Ian Schwartzman connection, you gotta nip that in the bud. And it wasn't a bad interview. I like Mona on the pod. I got love for Mona. She do talk about a lot of, like, she a hood drawn, and I get it, and it's cool. She tries to glorify, like Joe Budden's used to do it, but now he's on his high horse. But she tried to glorify, like, during one of the interviews, she was like, everybody was smoking wet. No, everybody wasn't. And I'm 41. No, we was looking at y'all like crackheads for smoking wet. No, everybody was not smoking wet. We looked at y'all as dirty and bummy and losers. Please don't justify that because you and Joe Buttons was smoking wet. I'm 41 and from the same areas as y'all. Everybody was not smoking wet. Sorry. And if you was smoking wet, we looked at you as doofy. Don't, like, and I'm not saying I never did drugs. Don't try to excuse your crackhead activity by putting it on everybody. Mona, I don't know why she did that. Even at the, even during the interview, like I said, it was a good interview. Shout out to the dude that did an interview. I don't know his name. Mona seemed high as a giraffe's ass during the interview. I love Mona. She could be a mess. But y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments. I think Ian Schwartzmen has his hand in pod decisions too much and cast decisions too much. And I think Joe Budden's got to get that in order. Like, subscribe, turn your notifications on. I'll be back with another one.